Welcome to this episode of Beyond the Statement series. We're going to focus on what is diversity and inclusion. As always, I have a disclaimer statement. My statements and my opinions are my own. The goal for this episode, we want to define diversity and inclusion. Simple goal. These are short episodes, get you in and get you out. With them being short episodes designed to get you in and get you out, the goals are very short, they're very succinct. Throughout the marketing materials, you've seen the word organization. Throughout the episode, you're going to hear the word organization. It is an umbrella term. It describes states, schools, districts, publishers, professional organizations, consultants, all of those. We're going to use the term organization. Otherwise, every time I do a video, every time we do an episode, every time we refer to one, I'm going to have to say states, schools, publishers, professional organizations, districts. I'm just going to say organization. That's it. So when I say organization, however you fall under that umbrella, that's your thing. Now, let's go to this image. What do you notice and what do you wonder? What do you notice and what do you wonder about this image? I'll give you a couple of moments. Most of you are saying, all right, these are construction workers. I agree. They could be engineers. They're pouring, it looks like cement. It looks like they're possibly on a roof. So that's what we know so far. And they're walking along. They're walking along. That's all I'm going to say. Now, these same group of guys who are doing a wonderful job pouring this cement or this roofing material, they're going to do something else. Look at this. What do you notice and what do you wonder about this? Now think about it. Those same guys who were doing a wonderful job pouring the roof, they did a great job. It looks like it was going to come out very well. They did this. But if you're noticing this, it's missing a key element, a ramp. This is one of the reasons diversity is important as it relates to your organizational structure, as it relates to when you're doing projects. All of these guys in the picture are walking from based upon the picture, they're moving around. If one of them had a lived experience from a wheelchair or had a lived experience from a child or a family member in a wheelchair, this would have not occurred. Too often in our organizations, we make decisions. We have people leading groups who are missing lived experiences. Diverse experiences are necessary to make good quality educational decisions. Now, let's define this whole term of diversity. A lot of educational entities, when I say educational entities, these are the ones I'm referring to that make policies. They're investors. They represent those entities. Here's a definition that has been floated around in regards to diversity. A diverse and inclusive workforce. Diversity is no longer defined by just race or gender. This is extremely problematic definition. Why? Because leading entities as it relates to policy and investments are pushing this definition. Let's be honest. It makes investors and CEOs and superintendents feel comfortable because we don't have to define it by race or gender. It's all of these other things. That's just a cop-out. That is just an excuse. And I blurred out the name of this not professional organization, this policymaker / investment group because I don't want to get sued. I'm just be honest. I don't want to get sued. I know a lot of people are going to watch these videos and try to find ways. Guess what? I blurred out the name. But a lot of documents that leaders, when I say big time leaders, like your state boards of education, your Department of Education in DC, these publishing companies, these book companies. When I say book, I'm separating, I know publishers like, programs, but then books like just regular books that people author. All of these big time leaders, this is the kind of messaging they're receiving. So when you see people say, diversity is no longer about race and gender, it's all of these other things, it's a cop out. And policy makers are making it so people can cop out. That one definition, I went and read who are the authors, like who leads this educational consortium. Guess what? None of them are educators. They're all lawyers. They have business degrees. None of them are from the education field. But guess what? They're leading and pushing education narratives. Things that make you go, You have to understand, education, yes, is being run by state leaders and local leaders, but a lot of outside investments, yes, I said the word investments, are influencing education. We're going to talk about that on the future episode, what education really is. But for now, let's go back to this whole term of diversity and inclusion. Two terms. Diversity. Here is a working definition of diversity. It's straightforward, to the point. I highly recommend your organization use this, a definition like this one, or just take this definition or use something similar. Here we go. Understanding, accepting, and valuing differences between people, including those of different races, ethnicities, genders, ages, religions, disabilities, and sexual orientations. That is a good definition of diversity. A lot of you are going to see where it says in their race and ethnicity. Those are two different constructs. Understand me. A race essentially is just the color of someone's skin. Ethnicity ties to their cultural background and who they are. Two different terms, two different constructs. We're going to tease out a lot through these episodes. We're going to talk about race. So when it comes to diversity and inclusion, we have to get over, oh my gosh, I don't want to say the B word. What's the B word? Black. I don't want to say the A word. What's the A word? Asians. I don't want to say the P word, Pacific Islander. No, we're going to say terms like, there are three things we never want to talk about: race, religion, and politics. Diversity and inclusion, you have to talk about them. Those three constructs are what are dividing us and keeping us separated. We have to have an honest definition. And it's not about making someone change their political views or change their religious views. No, but you need to understand others to better understand how we're more similar than we are different. Here's another great example. In terms of diversity, imagine this. There's an elephant. Everyone goes out and touches a different part of the elephant. Think about it. Picture this elephant. Everybody touches a different part. When you come back, everyone knows they've touched an elephant or an object. We can say you just touched an object, or we can make it say, tell them it's an elephant. When they come back and report out, we're going to get a bunch of different reports because they've touched a different part of his body. That does not invalidate any of their experiences touching that elephant or that object, again, based upon how we described it. But if we do not have a diverse group of people coming back to report what did they experience, guess what's going to happen? Some people are going to come back and say they only touch the tusk? Is it the tusk of the elephant? Yeah, the tusk. That's the word. They touch the tusk of the elephant, and that's all they're going to be able to talk about. Or somebody's going to touch one of the big, feet. They be like, it was just big, it was round, it was heavy. That was it. We have to understand the importance. Everybody's view matters. Diversity matters. Who are you bringing to the table when you make your leadership decisions? Remember, these episodes, teachers, this is a good caveat to that. Teachers, I said you need to be a part of these. Why? You lead from where you are. So it's not about leadership in terms of title. You lead from where you are. We're going to talk about that in the later episodes. See, I'm just priming the pump for the different episodes. With leadership, diversity matters. With leadership, diversity matters. Say it with me. With leadership. Oh, I like that. I like that. So here we go. Definition of inclusion. Here's an overarching definition. The definition I showed you earlier with diversity was not race and gender. Those are self-serving definitions. The definitions I am providing you are universal. They're not self-serving, and they work to ensure a fair and equitable environment for everyone. Here's the definition of inclusion. Collaborative, supportive, and respectful environment that increases the participation and contribution of all individuals. That three-letter word, A-L-L, all. A lot of times when I go to these different sessions, work with these different entities, the environment may be diverse. Because, some people are like, hey, I got to check these boxes. Let me look around the room. Good, good, good. But when it comes to actually making decisions, it's not a diverse decision making. Everybody's voice matters when it comes to making a decision. It's a shared leadership model. I know a lot of people are like, hey, I'm the CEO, or I'm the superintendent, or I'm the principal. I make the final decision because it falls on me. Yeah. I get it falls on you. When I was in my leadership role, this is what I used to do. Anytime something good happens to everyone that fell up underneath my purview, I was like, guess what? We did a great job. Let's celebrate. Anytime something bad happens or my boss was angry at what we did, it all fell on me. That's a good leader. As a good leader, when it's good, everybody. When it's bad, you take it, you own it. You're the leader. That's your title. That's your role. You get paid the big bucks to take the crap. If you don't want the job, guess what? Somebody else will take it. Get out. That's another episode. So I've been having discussions with entities. When you're riding on the road, there are two groups of people on the road. There's some that ride in that right lane. There's some riding the fast lane. Even though if you're going to the same destination, some leaders need to get the heck out the way. We have some young, vibrant, when I say young, not in age, I mean as far as that energy level. See, you all thought I was going to go to 8. Nope. Young as far as energy, as far as experience. We have some individuals who are in that fast lane. Let them go by. Stop holding back progress. A lot of people want to hold back things because, we haven't done it this way and this is different. And I'm going to use some leadership jargon that I hear all the time across. And when I say leadership jargon, understand there are corporate entities watching these videos. There are strictly K-12 entities. So I'm going to use different terms that are used, especially when I'm in the upper rooms. Chris, you have to understand the corporate structure. What is that? It's a mythical structure somebody made up. I know a lot of corporate people are like, no, it is a mythical hierarchy that can be changed. I'm gonna say that for another episode. I got a good example of all these structures that are in place. When you read with superintendents, Chris, this is a large district. Time takes change. I got an example that I promise you people can change overnight. I'm saving. These videos have to be short, sweet, to the point. So if you know me and you know my style, I will go on and really go in. But I'm trying to stay calm, collected, because I got, some guests watching these episodes that never consume my content. Here we go. I want to show an example. I do not like the NFL. Let me get that perfectly clear. It is one of the most hypocritical organizations out there. But with them being hypocrites, they serve as a perfect example for an inclusion example. Here we go. Here's a picture of the Buccaneers. I only use the Bucks. I grew up in Florida. I'm from Florida. I live in Florida now. I've never been a Bucks fan. I would never be a Bucks fan. Even before all this stuff happened, I would never be a Bucks fan. But this was a good image. So for this, I'm not a fan, but I'm a fan of this image. Here we go. We're going to use it in the context of an NFL team or the NFL experience with the Buccaneers. There are different levels. I'm going to compare them to levels within your organization. Remember, organization is an overarching term. You have fans, players, coaches, general managers, and owners. Essentially, that makes up the NFL. I know you're going to say they're advertisers. Let's simplify for the example. Work with me. Your fans are your students because they come into something they really don't control. Or your fans are your customers if you're in a corporate environment. You with me so far? So those are your fans. They come in to experience something. Your players in the when I say true educational setting, I'm just saying the K-12 schools, all right? Just so people don't get confused. Outside of that, it could be state departments. So your players are going to be your teachers or your entry-level workers because you need them to get things done, but we're going to see where they fall in this hierarchy. Your coaches, those are your administrators or your managers. Your general managers, those are your superintendents, your vice presidents. Your owners, those are your Department of Education, your investments, your boards. So you see, we got fans, players, coaches, general managers, owners. All of them play a pivotal role in this whole thing we call an NFL experience. But do they all play a pivotal role in decision making? That's one. Then some are going to say, Chris, our fans, they should not be making those decisions. But if it wasn't for fans, you would have a sport. If it wasn't for players, you wouldn't have the sport. Now, some of you, let's bring it home. If you wouldn't have entry-level workers, do you even have an organization? If you did not have students, would you even need a superintendent? This is one of the reasons we need inclusion as it relates to decision making. Each of these entities are important, but question, this is another episode coming up. When decisions are made, are all of these voices represented in a diverse manner? And I use the NFL for another reason. Can the average, I won't say the average, is it a possibility for a fan to one day become an owner? Think about, all right, some of you are going to say, well, it may be with the fans. You know, there's some rich fans. From the player's perspective, can a player rise to the level of owner? Like a regular, don't say, you know, certain, no. Can a player realistically make it to ownership? We're going to talk about later episode the corporate ladders or the structures we have in place in K-12 to rise to the highest levels. Are they designed for everybody to rise to the highest level or certain entities to rise to the highest level? I'm going to say something a lot of people are going to find controversial. A lot of people may get offended. A lot of leaders are not the best people for the job. And I'm saying in terms of their background, in terms of their experiences, in terms of their leadership abilities. A lot of leaders just grew up in a system that makes it easy for them to be a leader or put them in a position of leadership. I know some of you can probably like turn off. Woo, woo. If we want to change things for the better, for the people we truly care about, understand all of these videos, all of this whole diversity and inclusion, the reason I even did any of this, if you know me, I care about the students. Take your personal opinions out, I only care about every single student in which we serve. And all the entities I posted earlier about organizations and told you, hey, these are, when I use the term organization, all of them serve students at some level. That's who I care about. Here's a great image of showing you of diversity and inclusion. Diversity, you see all the different puzzle pieces. That's great. That's beautiful. That's what we need. But inclusion, we also need all of those puzzle pieces working together. It's not one or the other. It's both. Say it again. It's not one or the other. It's both. Now, next steps. When I do these videos, every episode has next steps. You have next steps individually. You have next steps organizationally. Why? Because I've been doing this work literally across the country. When I'm doing this work across the country, I know there are two entities I'm working with. I'm working with the organizational structure, trying to change it. I also have to change that person you see in the mirror. So it's always, every video, you got two things you need to do. And one for the individual, one for the organization. Here are your two things. Individually, I want you to have a discussion with someone who differs from you in race and gender and focus on learning one new thing. That's it. When you have this discussion, understand that person does not represent the whole race. They don't represent the whole gender. It is just letting you expand your horizons and your knowledge base and learn about someone else's lived experience. Now, organizationally, these organizational next steps, we're going to uncover some things. Don't try to jump ahead and think you know where I'm going with this uncovering. You don't. It's good though. It's good. It's going to make you think. The goal is to make you think. Here's my thing. I'm not trying to get you to think what I think. I'm not. What I'm trying to do is to get you to think. So organizationally, this is what I want you to do as an organization. And when I say as an organization, if you're the leader, you can do this. If you're a teacher, you can still, everything I'm telling you organizationally, you can do for whatever your role is in leadership. Here we go. I want you to pull your organization's demographic data. Not who you serve, like the ones on payroll. Let's make it specific. The ones on payroll within your organization, I want you to pull the demographic data in terms of gender and race. That's step one. Step two, identify your customers. That could be your students or it could be your clientele base. What is their demographic data in terms of gender and race? You all have this data. If you don't have it readily available, human resources within your entity has this data. Diversity and inclusion matters. In this episode, we just gave a quick definition of what is diversity, what is inclusion. These episodes are short, sweet. And also, I was gonna say this, I'm probably gonna say this in the intro, so if you hear it twice, you hear it twice. None of these episodes are designed for later to, hey, buy this course or buy this book or here's the long version. That's not, if you know my areas where I really go deep, I got a million things on my plate. So this is literally to help leaders as we overcome diversity and inclusion issues within different organizations. And there are I wish I don't have my phone with me. If I showed you my phone of the issues that come across from different organizations that we're trying to address across the country, you'd be like, whoa. So what we're uncovering is also, everything we're uncovering, nothing is new. All of these things have been happening within your organization. They may have been swept under the rug. So nothing we're going to uncover is new. So it's up to you to not, I'm gonna be honest. I keep saying be honest. I'm always honest. These videos is a 3-step process in all this diversity and inclusion. The goal is for organizations to change in step 1. If step 2 and step 3 occur, is not going to be a good thing for your organization. I'm putting it in the video. I'm putting that in the video. I'm saying it's not going to be a good thing because it's going to change who you are as an organization and not in a good way. So that's why we're trying to get in the front of it now with step 1 so things can change for the better. On the next episode, every episode you look at the topics, it's take you on a journey. I love journeys. We define diversity and inclusion. We had to get a common ground for diversity and inclusion. Now we're going to focus on why is now the time to address diversity and inclusion in the next episode. Short, sweet, to the point. I'm going to give you some stories. I'm going to give you a lot. I'm going to give you a lot in 15 minutes. My goal is 15 minutes. This has been your boy, Dr. Christopher J. Childs, discussing diversity and inclusion. This is the Beyond the Statement. Statements a PR tool. Like, that's all they were. I'm just being honest. All of them were PR. It cost an organization nothing to write a statement last week, or depends upon when you're watching this. These statements came out around the killings of when George Floyd was killed in 2020, May of 2020. So depends upon when you're watching it. A lot of statements came out around that time. PR statements, they cost organizations nothing. These videos are going to make sure organizations lived up to these blanketed statements that they put out. Yep, I said it. All right, this is your boy, Dr. Christopher J. Childs. See you on the next episode. Hopefully you tune in for all of them. Share them with your educational leaders. Share them with your friends. I guarantee you, if you watch all of them, it will change your personal life. As you enact these things within your organization, it's going to change your organization for the better.